Hi Raj, a very warm welcome. So today we are going to conduct a generative AI architect mock interview questions for the topic API and pipeline design. And the objectives are that you're going to explain us how will you design, secure, scale, govern, troubleshoot, and communicate enterprise-grade APIs and end-to-end GenAI pipelines for Capgemini-style client environments, integrating LLMs with enterprise systems. Okay, and we are going to get started with the first question. So the first question is, how would you design an enterprise API layer for generative AI solution that serves multiple use cases such as chatbot, content generation, and knowledge search across ERP, CRM, and data lake systems?
Okay. Hi there, Devanshu. Good morning. So, when come to for a API and a pipeline design, so if I want to design an API layer for a generative AI solutions which connect to multiple use cases, first I will be as an architect. Uh, I will be I will get understanding about the current roadmap as well as the organization roadmap. So accordingly, I will be designing the API. So accordingly, so maybe what are the systems is available. So how we are going to communicate between each systems. So accordingly, then as architect, I will be designing a reusable components instead of for every in case of every use cases we will get into place. We should not tend to every we should not tend to do the development again and again. So I will be make sure I will be doing a reusable component in across all the projects. They want so when come to the in so in the in generally in any of the use cases, the user sends a query in a Gen AI once once the user initiate a query in the backend, I will be facilitate the API gateway. So with that the API gateway, that will be a centralized one. That will be centralized and the reusable component. If the API gateway will see the user, we will whether what is the access of the users, authorization, and authentication. Based on that, it will be a redirect to in the backend. It will be behind the API gateway. I will having deciding whether this one is for the which system. If this request is coming for a which system, it will be delegate to the. But if it is a CRM system, ERP system, like that, it will be delegate that API will the API gateway will delegate to the particular APIs. In turn, API will have it will design. So if it is a CRM system, it will be connect to the respective. I will be centralized designing the AI orchestrator layer. It will be heart of the all the projects. There will be having the in case for CIERP will be the separate functionality will be there. For CRM, separate functionality will be there. If it is conversational Q&A, separate process will be there. So based on the API, what is the API? The input is giving to the orchestrator accordingly, it will design. So if it is the summarization, so we will not so in the design I'll be considering. So only the summarization prompt request only will be there. If it is the Q&A, the respective, if there is any enterprise system is there, it will be connect to the enterprise systems like ERP APIs. It will connect. It will be doing a data ingestion pipeline. Then accordingly, it will be redirect to the each pipeline. Then model layer. So yeah, model layer will be the same centralized one. So irrespective of the access will come, it will be reached to the model layer. So so the model layer it receives input from the AI orchestrator, and it will be act accordingly. What is the input? What is the context? What is the questions we are going to get? What is the citations? Will be sending into the LLM layer. So the model layer, in that model layer will provide the response to the end user. There I will be adding in the uh, securities and governance in the because we were discussing the securities and governance in all the discussions. So in all the layers, I will be integrating the. I will be make sure adhering the securities and compliance throughout the use case. This is the way I will be designing the enterprise API layer, which will increase the productivity also and reuse scalability and modularity and maintainability also. They want.
Okay, sure. Okay, let's get to the next one. So the next question is, what API contract would you define for a RAG-based question answering service in an enterprise setting? And what fields would you include in the request and response?
Okay. So, yes, when come to the, it's an interesting question because when come to the API contract, as in any GenAI, any applications, the users send a, suppose we might be designed on a GenAI system, we might have integrated with that UI or chatbot, Slack, web, mobile app. So these are the multiple channels that the users can send queries. So, so I will design in such a way to in the API whenever the users sends a query, I will be reading that uh, uh, queries. Along with, I will be sending some other who is the user, end user, what is the date, time, and mm, what is the session ID? If it is, if we deploy it into the cloud, what is the session tenant ID? These are informations I will be sending to the API gateway along with that. Why I am sending it means because in all the portals, this is the one standard one will be following it. So in case these informations maybe might be useful in a data ingestion pipeline where we can add it into the metadata. From in that metadata, with that we can the retrieval layer we can use it. In turn, in the while sending back to say through LLM, if we send back as a response, there also we can add it. These are the informations in the citations we can add it. It will help us to increase. It help us to track it in the usages, latency, and safety and policy. These and all they also. These are key keywords in the API contract that will be defined as the enterprise systems.
Right. Okay, let's get to the next one. The next one is, how would you design the ingestion and indexing pipeline for enterprise documents used in a GenAI knowledge assistant?
Okay. So if I want to design ingestion pipeline as an index, just I will be designing indexing indexing data ingestion pipeline as a modular and a scalable one. Devanshu. So it will first initially the first one will be a attack one. The whenever we deploying any cases, will be as a team will be running attack as a attack run first time. Then whenever if we if the files new versions get added, it will be a planned and a scheduled one. During that time, I will be during that time the indexing will taken care of in the schedule run. So when come to the data ingestion, I will be as architect, I will be considering I will be designing such a way to scalable, modularity, and reusable. So I will be designing such a way whenever the new use cases will be starting instead of doing from scratch. I will be adapting into the existing one. From there, will be designing. Will be taking care of the whatever I will adapting into the new business logics. There in the data ingestion, I will be data ingestion will fetch all the documents from the enterprise systems like SAP, CRM, ERP systems, some any SharePoint, Confluence. These are the systems, so it will be collect all the data. From there, I will be doing data pre-processing. Then once the pre-processing done, then I will be doing chunking strategies, whether the semantic chunking or document-based chunking, any class-based chunking. Based on the business case, I will be doing chunking. Once chunking is done, then I will be doing metadata. I will be adding the metadata enrichments also. Because we have the API contract side, from the API contracts, we might have received all the informations from what then I will be doing chunking also. What is the file name, user, creation date, these are the metadatas enrich my web. Then I will be once the metadata is done, I will be applying embeddings with the OpenAI embeddings. So that is purely based on the business case. What are embeddings models we are going to use it with? I will be converting with the use of the text. I will convert into vector and will be storing into the vector DB. So when this is the total ingestion pipeline, when come to the indexing, so whenever the indexing, as I earlier told, indexing, when the indexing will happen, whenever the new files, new version of the file get added, I will be just on a scheduled basis, the kind of a event driven basis. Whenever new files will get added, I will be triggering the ingestion pipeline. So instead of running the entire ingestion pipeline, so I will be appropriately what are the files getting added. If it a new so that is say if you are having a X other file, if the same X file gets added, so I will be processing only the X file. Then accordingly it will get stored into the uh, vector DB with the version. What is the version? What is the date? Everything will get added there also. This is the one that is the way I will be designing ingestion and indexing pipeline. As well as in the end of the injection or end of the response, I will be adding the validation layer to see whether in the response, what are the model providing response to the end user, all the citations we have added are not this own more checks. I will be adding it there.
Okay. Okay, great. Let's get to the next one. So the next question is, if a client asks whether to use synchronous APIs, asynchronous pipelines, or event-driven architecture for a GenAI workflow, how would you decide that?
As a architect, so it is an interesting case. So as an architect, it purely it's based on the business case, scope, and objective of the project area also. So if the business case is if there is a Q&A, if it is a end user want a what a immediate response, swift response, interactive, with kind of interactive chatbot we are going to develop. It's going to be a it's a kind of chatbot with the bot with the user will go in the Q&A session. Then I will be opting for the I will considering as a synchronous API. When I choose the asynchronous pipeline, if they're having a large number of data sets and it will go into long running process. If it is having if we follow the queue based, a transaction based one, then I will be considering as asynchronous pipeline. When I will be going for event driven architecture, as I said in the previous one, if whenever file gets ordered in the data ingestion folder, immediately we have to trigger that process. So that kind of if any event will take in place, let's say if a user sends a query, we need to initiate the response. When a file gets added, whenever activity, those kind of events, I will be designing and considering for event-driven architecture. In some of the cases, we tend to follow a hybrid also. That is purely depends on the business case and objective of the use case. Some of these I will be designing such a way to mix it like a hybrid one. I can choose. I will be choosing the synchronous APIs also asynchronous and event driven. All three also I will be choosing as per the business need, business need as well as the processing dimension.
Okay. Let's get to the next one. So the next one is, how would you secure GenAI APIs that connect to enterprise systems containing sensitive business data?
Okay. So when come to the securing the GenAI API system, not only API, so API calls or API gateway. So in each layer, we'll be securing a data ingestion layer. Whenever the user logs in, I will be I will be checking I will be enabling the SSO or role-based access or attribute-based access or MFA. Then when we working with the sensitive data, when we I will applying the PAL masking and proper audit logging. Whenever I will be properly applying a guardrails. So when you're sending prompt to the LLM models, I will be masking the personal information data and encryption. I will be doing a encryption between the transit and rest. And throughout I will be enabling the proper logging, audit logging. So the response we have response between the models, input response, output response, what is the token usage. These are the sensitive the business data will be tracking it. When suppose if you are having any credentials, we are using it, and that will be reading from the vault. Then the vault, then proper whenever as I said, will be response between the LLM models, and I will be masking that key sensitive data between the and I will be properly tracking by the audit log what is the user sends as a query, what is the what is the prompt we are sending back, sending to the LLM models, what is the response we are getting it. These are the key ones we can track it in the what to say in the observability tool to where it will be tracking for the token usages, costings, and all that also. I think this is the way I think I can sense the business data while designing the GenAI systems.
Okay. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next one. The next question is, how would you implement API versioning and backward compatibility when GenAI prompts, models, and response formats evolve over time?
Okay. So when it comes to the API versioning as a architect, so through the I will be make sure I will keep the API keep the development version API versions in the CI/CD. I will be designing the CI/CD pipeline through CI/CD pipeline. I will be maintain the past versions also to track whether whenever we deploy that new version, it should not impact the older version. Some of the old business peoples will keep using the older versions. So whenever through the API in the URL, I will be maintaining the versions also. In the versions in the API URL, let's say x.com will v1, v2 like that, will be maintaining the versions. With the, from the URL, we can get the version numbers. From there, accordingly, we can route that prompt models and response. So what is the API version? I said throughout the architecture, I will maintain the versions across the API, whether prompt or models and the response formats. With that, I will be play around with the version numbers. Devansh. This will maintain the compatibility between all the entire GenAI system with that versions. Suppose if the end user is running at the lower version with that version number, uh, we can use that prompt models response and format and all.
Okay. Okay, sure.